I want to show you how a life sciences medical device company might use Dynamics 365 Business Central. We're going to look at a typical product life cycle from the point of view of a startup company. We're going to go through startup, engineering and design, and commercialization. So let's get started. From a startup point of view, we're going to be looking at accounts payable and financial reports. This is typically what a startup company needs right at the beginning. And then we'll be looking at engineering and design. We'll look at inventory and bills of material and how you can take that bill of material and produce a finished good item. And finally, we'll look at commercialization. We'll look at pre-commercialization, where we have sales samples we send out to people. We'll look at how we can send out sales orders, sales invoices to customers, and how we can use a contract manufacturer and a 3PL to help us in our business. So let's get started. So let's take a look at the startup phase of our company. At that phase, you only need accounts payable and typically financial reports. And it's easy to do in Business Central. And the nice thing about Business Central is you can start with a single license and you can expand from there. We'll also see how we can expand the functionality as well. But let's start with accounts payable. And here we have a complete list of vendors. I can use these vendors in purchase orders, purchase invoices, and also make payments to the vendors from this list right here. And I can use this throughout the life cycle of my product and my company. So let's take a look at one vendor. This is the vendor card for this vendor. What's nice about this is I have all the fields on this card. I can scroll down, I can see those fields here. I have quick tabs that allow me to easily go to these sections. I can also show less if I want to, or show more in that particular section. And I can also personalize this. And what that means is in Business Central, I can take this screen, I can add fields to it, all within the user interface. So it makes it real easy to configure for personal use. So let's continue. And the first thing I want to do is add a purchase invoice to this vendor. And I'm going to charge a number of items to my general ledger. This is easy to do. You can see I've got my general ledger listed here, and I've got the items and the amounts. I can add attachments to this document. So if I've got an image of it, I can add that to this document. It will follow the document all throughout the system. I can also add an approval process to purchase invoices. It's all contained within Business Central. For this demonstration, I'm just going to enter an invoice here and then post it. And it's really that easy. I can enter the invoice information. I'll look at my vendor list to make sure I've got the right vendor. I'll look up my general ledger account to make sure I've got it to the right account. And then all I need to do is post it. The next thing I want to do is create a payment to this vendor. It's easy to do. Let's go to cash management. I'll make a payment journal. So what I can do here is I can manually add vendors and apply invoices for individual payments, but I can also automate it. I'll go to suggest vendor payments. And here I have a list of payments that I can make based on the selection criteria that I just entered. Here's a payment to the vendor for the invoice that we just entered. What we can do here is we can look at the apply entries. The system automatically applied entries that were due to this particular vendor. Here's the entry that we just created right here. So let's go ahead and accept that. I scroll over to the right a little bit. I can see there's different ways to make payments to my vendors. I'm going to create checks, but can also use EFT as well. So let's go ahead and just create the checks. I'm going to print the checks. Here's my check right here. I've already set it up to be signed. I can print these out to a printer. It already has a MICR encoding in it. So these are ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and print them. And then I can go ahead and post that batch. And I'm done. Next, let's take a quick look at financial reports in Business Central. They're easy to set up. Here's one right here. This is an income statement. In the financial reporter in Business Central, it uses columns, which are the various periods of time, and also budgets if you want to include that in your financial reports, and then the various rows. And here are the rows right here. You can scroll down and see the different rows. I can drill into these if I want to. Let's drill into that. Look at the underlying entries. And I can see all the entries to this account that ends up on the financial statement. But let's just take a look at it. We'll print it out. It's a straightforward financial reporter, and it's easy to use for startup companies. Another thing I can do with this report is I can export it to Excel. So what we just looked at is how a startup company can use Business Central with only one license to set up an accounts payable function, make payments, and also set up financial reports. Next, let's take a look at operations. I've logged in as a different role. You can see the roles here. I'm logged in as a manufacturing manager. There's a number of roles that come with the system. You can use those, but you can also create your own if you want to. But let's take a look at the manufacturing manager. This is my role center. When I log in, I've got information about what is important to me as a manufacturing manager. Let's take a look at items and also bills of material. This is a list of items in my inventory. Let's take a look at one of them. Here's an inventory card. I've got all the information about the item in my system right here on this one card. It's easy to navigate. Again, I can personalize this if I want to. I can add documents, maybe engineering drawings. If I have that, I can add that here. And I have the different quick tabs here. Any one of them I can show more and get more information on that. Next, let's take a look at the bill of materials. I set up a bill of materials for blood pressure monitors. You can see that here. I've got individual items in this bill of material. I also have other bills. These are phantom bills that show up in the bill of material for the finished good, which is the blood pressure monitor. I've got these sub-assemblies. I could break those out as separate items if I wanted to, but here I have them showing as phantom items. And you can see I have the individual items here. I've got the quantities for each item in this finished good. Let's take a look at some simple reports. We'll look at the exploded bomb. Here's my exploded bomb. I've got the individual items, the quantities. I also have the sub-assemblies. Those are exploded as well. You can see the components of those sub-assemblies listed here. In this bill of material, these sub-assemblies are phantom sub-assemblies. I can also set up the bomb so that these sub-assemblies are produced separately from the main item. As is true with any report in Business Central, I can also send it to Excel. So let's do that. I'll select Excel here. This is the same report, same information, but it's in Excel. So from here, I can do further analysis if I want to. Before we continue, if you like this type of content, the best way to support us and to help others find this content is to subscribe to our channel, activate the notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for helping us grow this channel. Let's get back to the demonstration. So next, what I want to do is run a simple MRP process to show me the items I need to purchase in order to make this finished good item. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to Planning Worksheets here, open this one up, and we'll run the process. We'll calculate the regenerative plan. So this process has done two things. It suggested a production order here for the blood pressure monitor. We're going to accept that. And it also suggested purchase orders for all the component items. You can see those listed here. I'm going to go ahead and carry out the action messages. This is going to create the purchase orders and that one production order. This is all set up. I'll just hit OK. And the MRP process is that simple. Let's take a look at the purchase orders. These three purchase orders at the bottom were just created by the MRP process. Let's take a look at one. Here's a purchase order generated by the MRP process. The form is very similar to the purchase invoice. So this allows me to get familiar with the way that the purchase invoice looks and the purchase order looks. It's basically one form. These are the quantities and the pricing that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this. I can receive it in and I can invoice it separately, but I'm going to go ahead and invoice and receive both at the same time. So let's go ahead and do that. And now those items are in the inventory and an accounts payable invoice has been created and is ready to pay. So I received all the new items into my inventory. And now we've got a planned production order. This was created by the MRP and PS process. Let's open that up. Here's a production order right here. I'm going to make 10 of these. This is a finished good item right here. Currently, this is a firm planned production order. I want to release it now, so I'll go to Change Status. Automatically goes to Release. I'm going to update the cost. I go back to my role center for the manufacturing manager. I see now that I have one released production order. Let's go ahead and finish that off. All right, so I'm ready to finish off this work order. This is a simple one. I did the assembly in-house. I don't have any labor on this bill of material. It's just items. But this is a serial controlled item, so I want to add serial numbers. I can do that easily here. And what I'm going to do is assign serial numbers. I've got a format, a template, if you will, that's already set up. I want to create the serial number information card as well. So go ahead and do that. Business Central will assign those serial numbers, and I'm done with that portion of it. The next thing I need to do is look at the production itself. I'm going to create a production journal. This is going to show me all the items that were used. This is from the bill of materials. If I need to change the quantity or add an item or subtract an item, I can do that. But then go ahead and accept that. Also, this is a simple bill of material. If I wanted to add labor at different work centers, I could do that as well. But I just used a simple bill of material, and I'll go ahead and post this. And I'm basically done with that production order. I can go ahead and change the status to finished. And that's done. Now that finished good item is in my inventory. The component items have been relieved from inventory. So this one is ready to send out as sales samples. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to create a sales order out to my distributor for 2 sales samples. Because this finished good item is controlled by serial numbers, I need to specify the serial numbers. I'll go ahead and do that. There's one, and I'll specify the second one, and I'm done. Because these are sales samples, the price to the distributor is going to be 0. I can attach the sales documents to this particular record in Business Central if I want to. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got a pro forma invoice. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to create the invoice. It attaches it as a document here. Here's a simple pro forma invoice. So now I can send this out to my customer. Once I've done that, I'll go ahead and post this. So we looked at a complete cycle here. We looked at the items, the bills of material. We created a production order and purchase orders based on the MRP process. We finished up the production order and we sent it out as a sales sample. So as my company matures and experiences more volume, I may want to take the manufacturing process and outsource that, as well as the logistics part of it. It's easy to do in Business Central. I can use the same mechanisms, just specify different locations. So for example, I've got a planned production order. I can say instead of inside, it's going to be an outside location. One way to do that is to specify the contract manufacturing location right here. I'll do that. That means that this finished good item is going to be assembled here. And then what I would do is transfer that to a third-party logistics company so that they could then send it to my customers. So we just looked at how a life sciences medical device company could use Dynamics 365 Business Central all the way from a startup to full commercialization. Now this is easy to do in Business Central because I can start with just one license. I can expand the licenses as I need them. I can also expand the functionality as I need the different areas of functionality. We looked at inventory, bills of material, production, sales order, purchase order. I can do all of that in Business Central and use one system through the product lifecycle in my organization.